Namaste, Jai Bharat. I used to talk about confusions at different conceptual levels. There is an interesting conceptual confusion which had really gone into making multiple histories, and that is the concept of Aryan. There are stories of Aryan invasion theory, etc., in the context of Bharat. But let's see how the whole thing began. But before that, let's look for the root of the term Arya or Aryan. Go back in the knowledge tradition to know where this term Arya or Aryan can initially be found, or the concept of Aryan as well as the term Aryan is of what origin. Obviously, the term Aryan is first found in the first ever text of mankind, that is the Rig Veda. The Rig Veda says Praja Arya Jyotiragra. I will not speak much. I'll try to make it in as minimum words as possible without elaborating beyond a point. Sometimes elaboration becomes necessary. Praja Arya Jyotiragra should simply mean the people who are guided by light, rhetoric, connotative use, the people who are guided by light and who continuously search light are called Arya. In another word, Arya is fundamentally a connotative concept or a quality concept. When we come to a text like Manusmriti, we come to know people with these qualities are termed Aryas, and Manusmriti also gives examples of some people. Those who lost such qualities in due course of time become Anaryas or non-Aryas. This is fundamentally the concept of Arya or Aryan in its origin. It's a quality concept. People or person with given qualities, whatever, list can be made, an inventory can be made, with such and such qualities could simply be termed as Aryan or Arya. In some of our languages in Bharat, instead of addressing respected sir while writing a letter, instead of addressing respected sir, there are people who write Arya. And that one word carries everything. As I understand, in the Telugu language, even today, this is in practice, as I understand. Now, somewhere in the post-15th century Europe, there came some kind of exercise which could be termed as the race science or the studies of races. They believed in different races or racial differences. The Europeans, at least those days, some people might even do it today, it doesn't make any difference, at least during those days, thought that the color of skin and appearance, that is a bleached skin with the absence of melanin, if I am right, is an indicative of something they believe to be race. But let's see, race fundamentally should be an anthropological concept. And the anthropologists do have some ideas about race, and that's a different science. But the post 15th century time, they had such ideas of race sciences. See, somebody is superior by race and not so superior by race, and they went entirely by judging the external outward appearances of individuals. And then the 17th century Europeans who undertook a lot of sea voyages, they happened to travel in areas far flung, etc. And obviously, India was a hub of both learning and also as well as wealth. Yeah, there was a time in Bharat, there used to be something like 6.5 to 7 lakhs of universities in Bharat. We call universities as Gurukulas. They were smaller, larger, and very big Gurukulas in our nation at one period of time, and they were nearing 7 lakhs in numbers. Unimaginable, obviously. And anyone from all over the world who happened to go for higher knowledge used to travel, come, learn, and go back. Now that's a different story altogether, even then. So, those who came to Bharat those days, as a part of their sea voyages, comes across an entirely different civilization in Bharat, such pomp and such show and such wealth and such knowledge tradition. They were amazed. They were very impressed by the term Arya that people used to respect one another, called Arya, like Sir, as we use in English language, Arya, and that impression remained. Later, the European Christian intellectuals, they created a prototype Aryan theory. They synthetically created a prototype Aryan theory because they wanted to escape from the Judaic heritage. Jesus Christ was a Jewish rabbi, but the Christians do not want to have anything to do with the Jews. So they wanted to break from their Judaic heritage, and they created the story of a prototype Aryan invasion to say that the Christians are the descendants of Aryans, who are a race who came from place X, place Y, whatever. So this is the beginning of Aryan concept. It's interesting. It's interesting when it comes to Adolf Hitler, very interesting person. So it's the Christian intellectuals who wanted to do away with the Judaic heritage, but what a pity, I would say, that Jesus Christ himself was a rabbi, Jewish priest, who wanted to separate them from Judaism. Judaism is such an established and complete religion, which is the mother of all Semitic traditions. Don't forget that. You should give the due to Jews for everything, whatever you are. Not simply, I'm not simply referring to the great inventions they made, but should give the due respect to them by virtue of religion itself. Let's now, in the context of Bharat, the Aryan theory played havoc, but did not affect us. That's very interesting. It affected Europe, on the contrary. When Macaulay came to represent the British rule in Bharat, he was a very clueful man, definitely. He understood that, he had a difficulty, he had a problem with the tremendous Indian pride. People are very proud. They don't really respect anyone, people without qualities from the mind. Indians normally respect qualities. when they see quality in a man, irrespective of what he is, where he is from, etc. But when you find qualities, it's natural for people of Bharat to respect, and this had been our history. And this is taught to us by the Rigveda itself. Ano Bhadra, Kritavo Yanta Vishvata, Rigveda. Let noble thoughts come to us, no matter who made it, who created it, no matter from where it comes, so long as it is noble, so long as you find something with quality, we accept. But when somebody pretends quality and continue to be foolish, such people can't demand respect. As we say in the forces, respect has to be commanded, not demanded. You have to earn respect by virtue of what you have in you, by virtue of your attributes and qualities or connotations, whatever. So Macaulay found it very difficult to mentally subjugate people of Bharat, because he, like most people, most English people at that time, wanted to continue domination of the British colonial rule in Bharat as long as possible, because they were gathering immense wealth from Bharat. When England became rich and Bharat became poor at the end of the colonial rule. So they wanted to continue for obvious reasons, primarily for money, wealth. So Macaulay was thinking that how to make the people of Bharat respect the British, accept their domination, how to make them think and feel that the British are superior to the people of Bharat, so that they will accept the superiority of Britishers just like that, by default. And he was trying to do it in multiple ways, and he was always a failure. Then he finds that this tremendous Bharatiya pride, Indian pride. Indians are very proud lot. Why are they proud of? It's not spurious pride. It's a pride based on solid knowledge system, solid knowledge tradition, the Vedopanishadic knowledge tradition, which is the foundation of the Bharatiya Sanskriti. That is, Sanskriti is not culture. I've told sometimes before also. Culture is refined human existence. Sanskriti is refined human existence based on an established solid knowledge tradition, which is a Vedopanishadic knowledge tradition, with a built-in longing towards the transcendental. The longing towards the transcendental is different from Rudolf Otto's definition of religion. He says religion is the fundamental intentionality of human consciousness towards the sacred. That consciousness, the longing towards the transcendental is different from an intentionality towards the sacred, because in the longing towards the transcendental, there is no question of a separate sacred. You are transcending to a different level by yourself. There is no external agency of sacred. So that difference is there. So, based on Bharatiya Sanskriti, Sanskrit is based on Bharatiya knowledge tradition. So this pride becomes an obstacle for the envisaged domination of the minds of the people of Bharat at Macaulay's part. So he wanted to create a situation where it becomes possible for the British to dominate people of Bharat, Indians, mentally also, in their mind. He thought what to do. They are very proud of their Vedas, Upanishads and such their literature. Now, if it becomes possible for someone to show to them that these Vedas, Upanishads, and the Veda Upanishadic knowledge tradition, which is the foundation of Bharatiya Sanskriti, is really not created by the ancestors of people of Bharat. It is created by Europeans, for instance, Britishers. If that can be made possible, it's a very wild but very shrewd kind of imagination. If that can be made possible, then of course the people of Bharat will be forced to respect the British for their imagined superiority. Then he tries to do something. He approaches the Professor Williams of Oxford. They had a chair, I think Borden chair, in Oxford, where they were educating people of Bharat in Sanskrit language. Sorry, they were educating the British officers who were supposed to come to Bharat in Sanskrit language, because they thought we'll educate them in Sanskrit. They'll give them some kind of orientation before coming to Bharat as part of their ruling business. So Professor Williams was chairing Borden chair those days, and Macaulay approaches Professor Williams with the request that please, this is important, with the request that please translate these Sanskrit texts into English and translate them in such a way that anyone who reads it should find them as rubbish, gibberish, and trash. Professor Williams had a taste of visiting Bharat and trying to translate Rigveda, I think I'm right, Rigveda into English. He did not do it, I suppose, fully. There was no one cooperating with him. And he found the scholars absolutely non-cooperative. So he immediately told Macaulay that, look, I am becoming very old. I am 60 years now, and I won't live long to do your. I won't live long enough to accomplish your request. But I have a person who is not British but is German. He is only 30 years old, youngster. Though he doesn't speak, remember, though he doesn't speak Sanskrit, he reads and understands Sanskrit. His name is Max Muller. Then, that time it is not the British Crown ruling Bharat, it is still East India Company ruling Bharat. So Macaulay approaches, and he doesn't approach Max Muller. Then Williams was trying to contact Max Muller, and Max Muller was brought to London, and Max Muller's situation was pathetic. The Germans are a little more concrete and realistic people, less romantic. They have ousted Marx from Germany. They have ousted so many people from Germany. And Max Muller was also considered as a romantic, as they used to consider Marx as a romantic once upon a time. So they were not taking Max Muller very serious, and he was not having much of income. He had financial difficulties. So this information went, and that time the German ambassador to Britain took Max Muller and presented him in front of Macaulay, and Macaulay placed his demands. You see, you should translate Sanskrit texts from Sanskrit to English, and the translation should be such that anyone who's reading it in English should find it as trash and should reject it. And then he offered us 10,000 British pounds to Max Muller those days as payment. Of course, imagine those days, 10,000 pounds used to be a huge amount. And then he made East India Company agree to pay 10,000 pounds to Max Muller. And actually, the East India Company never paid the entire amount to Max Muller at all. £10,000 were never paid, but they used to pay them, periodically some amounts of money to Max Muller, and they kept doing it for a long time. Then Max Muller shifts to England. He sat in a room and started doing the work. He started translating Sanskrit texts into English language under the series Sacred Books of the East. And I don't know, he must have definitely tried to make the translation as bad as possible, but I don't know, it did not came out that way. The translations were not very bad, fairly good enough. This business started, and Max Muller sat in England, did this work. In the meantime, see, Max Muller is actually only an instrument in the hands of Macaulay. In the meantime, Macaulay came to Bharat and he started an English education program in Bharat under the disguise that he wanted good clerks who would speak English for the British officers. So he started English schools. The pretext was to teach English language to native people of Bharat, so that they would get better assistants, better clerks, etc. But the other intention was very nefarious. That was to make people learn English on the one hand. By then, Max Muller would bring out his English translations of the holy texts of Hindus and make the newly educated, English educated people of Bharat read this. They brought printing press and all kinds of things, so that they will read it and reject it as trash. Then Macaulay started the program saying that, see, generally the scripts, the texts, Sanskrit texts are taught to others by Brahmins, because Brahmins go to learn Sanskrit in the Pathshalas, in the schools, in the temple schools. We have schools attached to temples, Pathshala, where the Pandit or the Brahmin teaches. So there Macaulay wanted to create a situation, create a story, and he wanted to make it an anecdote to say that the Brahmins had been teaching you. The Brahmins had been cheating you. The Brahmins had been cheating you, saying that these are the things written in our texts, so you obey. But look at the translation. These are not the things written in the text. You don't have to obey. You simply get dominated by the Brahmins, though revolt against the Brahmins. This kind of a narrative he wanted to implant in the minds of the neo-English educated youth of Bharat at that time. One problem Macaulay found was that he saw Bharat, the Hindus are divided into castes, many castes. But he also found out another thing. The castes are not very uniform. The caste in place X is different from caste in place Y, and so on throughout Bharat. One caste has nothing to do with another caste, and in different regions they have different caste names, and all these castes are not united. But then he finds that one caste is uniformly and universally present throughout Bharat, that is a Brahmin caste. So he became afraid that everyone here listens to the Brahmins, and if the Brahmins unite and move the people against the British colonization, then they will have to really vanish. He realized this. Of course, Brahmins were least interested in politics in general. This thing was not to happen, at least in those days' context. So he wanted the general public to go against the Brahmins, In case the Brahmins unite, then they will become a formidable force. So let the Brahmins not continue to have influence on general Hindus in general. This was the purpose. So he created this English schools. He created a band of newly educated Hindus, youth, and got some of the text. Translation was going on at that time by Max Muller. He was sitting in London. He was sitting in London. Then was all going on there. But it never had the desired effect. I don't know whether Max Muller really tried to make the translation rubbish or he failed to do so. Most likely the latter could be correct. He must have failed to make the translation bad. It's not so easy to translate Vedas into your choice or most of the texts into your choice. They are, in fact, not written. They are composed by great minds on a later day. So this could have been the case. This could have been the case as I see. Now, Max Muller does one mistake. He talks about the Aryan theory. Of course, Macaulay's intention was fulfilled by Max Muller through providing the Aryan invasion theory. He says that Aryans are a race who came from some place called Mediterranean area or somewhere in Europe side. Not very clear, vaguely says. Aryans are a race who came, who invaded all over the place, and they came to Bharat and they created the Vedas and the Upanishads. They created the Vedas and Upanishads, but later they got mixed with the local people of Bharat and lost their racial purity. So this is the Aryan invasion theory provided by Max Muller. Now, one simple question. If the Aryans are so great, if Aryans are a race, of course Aryan is not a race at all. Aryan is an honorific concept. People with given qualities are called as Aryans, as I told you right in the beginning. If Aryans are a race, and if they happen to come to Bharat from place X, there must have been something left over by them, created by them. It's something like the Muslims in general say that Mughal architecture. Mughal, they came and created all these monuments. In many cases, they have not created anything. They have only took out the Rajputs' forts and temples and then made a dome structure on top of them and did fine. Even otherwise, talk about Taj Mahal itself. Base is a Shiva temple. Taj Mahal itself, it is not that Mughals who created it. The Mughals were in rule and they made the expertise of people of Bharat to do it. If the Mughals had created such great things, why they had not created anything from where they came originally? So the same question is applicable to the Aryan theory also. Anyway, so everything is created by the Aryans, and the British are the descendants of Aryans, so they have every right to dominate people of Bharat. This is a theory. This is the narrative theory which Max Muller wanted people of Bharat to believe. Two people have objected a tooth and nail, and actually these two people have destroyed the Aryan invasion theory. One is none other than Maharshi Aurobindo, and second is Swami Vivekananda. They have objected it tooth and nail. And Maharshi Aurobindo, he was so deep and deft. So it takes long time if I speak about them. So let me not go into that. So it did not become very successful. But here Max Muller does a very silly mistake. Max Muller initially described the appearance of the Aryans in his own appearance, which best suits the Germans and not the British. Now this created a German nationalism which become more strong. Let me speak fast instead. I can't. It will take more time if you go into more narratives. This made German nationalism strong. You remember Hegel, the great philosopher, really great philosopher. The Hegel said every German should learn Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the ancestral language of Germans. He prescribed that, though he did not know. So the Germans, they started learning Sanskrit those days at least, and even now they do it. Not because of anything, but they happen to get a touch of it and they enjoy doing it, most likely. And that time, I forget the name, the principal of Calcutta Presidency College, they spoke about Germany. He spoke about Germany. He's a British man. Germany, that a nation is born out of Sanskrit language. Speaking about Germany, because there was a Franco-Prussian war. The date I forget. There was a war between Germany and France, in which Germany won over France. France was defeated. And when France is defeated, England was disturbed, because England remains comfortable when the power balance in Europe is balanced between France and Germany, and when Germany becomes more dominating and France is defeated in the Franco-Prussian War of the date I forget, could refer until then England's peace was disturbed. Then England outrightly accuses the Aryan theory. And who created the Aryan theory? Max Muller. Where does Max Muller live? He lives in England, at the mercy of East India Company, because the 10,000 pounds never got it fully paid, but money comes. And who got scared? Max Muller got terribly scared. If the Britishers throw him out of England, he will have no place to go. By then, initially when he reached England, he was only 30 years old, and now he is 50 years old. He is no more young to go for another battle. You know what he does? He makes a U-turn. He goes to University of Stuttgart in Germany and gives a series of lectures saying that I never said Aryan is a race. I never said Aryan is a race. I never said Aryans have golden eyes, blue eyes, etc. I only said that Aryan is a linguistic concept. Anybody who speaks Aryan languages, then he tells these are the Aryan languages: Aramaic, Sanskrit, and few languages. He says they are called Aryan languages. He never explains how they are called Aryan languages, from where the Sanskrit name Aryan comes to his head. All these things he never says. And those who speak Aryan language are called Aryans. I never said the Aryan is a race. He said that. By the time the ghost is already out of the, what is it called? Aladdin's jar. By then the ghost is already out of the jar. Aryan theory. Hitler was drunk in Hegelian philosophy of the purity of race. Hegel has inadvertently supported Aryan theory. He never intended this pure race theory, but Hitler was very comfortable with that pure race theory, and he had further purified Aryan theory by making a distinction between normal Aryans and Nordic Aryans. Why he makes it very interesting. Hitler is basically from Bavaria, that area, and that few selected people he calls as Nordic Aryans, and he says Nordic Aryans are the archetype Aryans. He writes in his autobiography Mein Kampf, which is translated into English as My Struggle. Very interesting book. And his aberrations, his mental aberrations, his inconsistencies with thought, everything is present. And many insights also. His blind dislike towards the Jews, unfortunately, that is based on envy, absolute envy. He could not be like them. The Jews remain much above them in many fields. So it's only envy. I see it as very serious envy. So he says the Nordic Aryans are the most pure Aryans. He's a Nordic Aryan, so he's one of the most pure. Then he says all world civilizations are fundamentally created by Aryans of this order, that order. So Germany has the right to rule the world, which leads him to the Second World War. The theory which led him to a world war is based on the Aryan theory, which was created at the instance of Macaulay by Max Muller. Look at how devastating things goes, and how many of Jews were killed. Getting killed is one thing, but getting tortured, insulted, and killed. I don't think anyone can ever forgive such a situation. Not accuse people who are drunk. I think Hitler is drunk, intoxicated into his own dreams and thoughts, like the Muslims of Pakistan do. They think they are, just by virtue of being Muslims, they are perfect. If somebody thinks like that, nobody can help them. Look at that situation. Look at that situation. A world war broke out. How many people lost their lives? Many lost their future. Many lost everything out of this Machiavellian instance of creating Aryan race theory, invasion theory, through Max Muller. And Max Muller, after giving his series of lectures in the University of Stuttgart, saying that I never said Aryan is a race. I only said it is a linguistic identity. Those who speak Aryan languages are called as Aryans, and he goes back to England and keeps quiet for the rest of his life. He becomes indeed scared. If the Britishers throw him out, then he will have no place to go. And incidentally, see, Max Muller gave an impression to most people that he is a real Sanskrit scholar. But you think about his scholarship. When I say he never spoke Sanskrit, never heard it spoken, he could draw Sanskrit, read and understand definitely, and he had no no affection or respect to the language. Yes, he never had respect to Sanskrit language. I don't think that he never had any respect to a language. He just wanted to live. Especially after the age of 50, when he was well settled, he became scared. So, the Aryan myth lingered on, continued on. Actually, there is nothing like Aryan. It originates from the Rig Veda. Aryan means a person with given qualities. It's an honorific concept if you speak in English, or connotative concept if you use logic, or a concept that speaks about qualities, attributes. Like most of the ancient Sanskrit concepts in Bharat are connotative. Brahmana is a connotative concept. Kshatriya is a connotative concept. They are not denotative concepts. They don't refer to XY individuals. They refer to a set of given qualities. Most of the Sanskrit concepts are quality concepts, not only just one. Most of the concepts are quality concepts. See, we sometimes when we teach in class, when somebody is very mischievous in the class, you may call him a monkey. Doesn't mean that he is literally a monkey. It only means that he is exhibiting monkey-like behavior at that point in time. That's all. Doesn't mean that he will continue to behave like that. So we use connotative concepts in all over the world, in almost all languages. And when you come to Sanskrit language is full of such connotative concepts, which discusses quality more than referring quantity. So this is a myth of Aryan as a race. This is a myth of Aryan invasion story, and this had resulted in World War, and this had resulted in the creation of a person like Hitler, who was deceived by himself into believing that he belongs to a pure race, that there is a race and all kinds of things. History is in front of you. Let's do a bit of analysis of history. Let's therefore get our concepts clear. That had been my business, to provide conceptual clarities, and I've been doing some videos in that lane. Let's get our concepts clear. Let's try to learn to think straight, and don't judge and conclude the conclusions. Like the Bible says, do not judge simply. I'm adding, do not judge simply. Do not be making hasty judgments. Don't leave things as open-ended as it is done in Hindu tradition. We don't conclude. We leave things open-ended for anybody to come and improvise and improve anymore. That's all for now. I'll come to you with another video, possibly with some more concepts. Namaste, Jai Bharat, Jai Shri Ram. Thank you.